Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
I'll just read one line or two from The Promise of Provision by Derek Prince. In the first part of this book, I will focus on basic spiritual truths that help us understand God's supernatural provision for us. And let me stop right there and say, God's provision for you does not depend on your budget. It does not depend on your assets or your abilities. God is able, and He did it in my life. He's done it for years. He goes right past my limitations, and He provides outlandishly, and really always has. In my early days, I took some things in Proverbs. One of them was, with wisdom, a house is filled with priceless and precious treasures. So I said, okay, I want wisdom. And that way I'll have beautiful things. And being a new believer, I considered it was material. I know now it's far more than material. My house is filled with beautiful people. My house is filled with the fruit of these people. My house is filled with the ministry outreach that has been created in spite of me and not because of me. So he focuses on basic spiritual truths that help us understand God's supernatural provision for us outside. He's gone way past, always. If I wanted something that I couldn't afford, He would reduce it to 90% off. We will learn how to break free from a poverty spirit and see that God gives us abundance for every good work. Abundance. And that's what I want to see and believe. He says you have to have the revelation of this, and may these words begin and this book begin a revelation of the abundance He wants to give on every ground. Health. John prayed, I think it was 3 John, I pray that you will prosper, be in health, in body, soul, and spirit in every way. If that's that, and that prayer I have prayed for a number of people. I need to get it accurately. It's too good. I think it's 3 John. It is 3 John chapter. 3 John verse 1. The elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. That's precious. Beloved, I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. The Amplified is fabulous of it too. So, to pray for prosperity doesn't mean you'll get money. It'll mean you might get things that are worth to you far more than money, and you might get things that you can't afford. So there, that's my God. That's yours too. He says, in succeeding parts, I will explain the principles, steps, and conditions for receiving God's abundance. I'm not there yet in the book. But knowing Derek Prince, it will be absolutely specific and scriptural. And he will define for you what prosperity is. And so I'm deliberately presenting that book because in the days to come, we're going to need to believe that. We're going to need to operate in His abundance. And especially if we have a work to do, which we do.
The other day you came down and I had gone to the pool and my trip over to the pool and actually trip back, I was just so much in despair. I had a despair. And I was working and you came down into the office and you came as you do sometimes with your fiery eyes, and I looked up, I went, oh, here it comes. And you said, throw it off. Now you hadn't seen me, so you didn't know that the Lord just gave it to you and just said.
He told me clearly, John is in despair, go tell him to throw it off.
And it was amazing because is exactly what I needed. I mean, it's perfect because I was just in it. And the thing that you said even last night, and the thing that I was amazed at, is that it's a breath. Just go away. It's not like you have to do like Jennifer said, where you scratch and claw your way out of it. It's like, no, I'm in the reality of Christ's life. I'm in the heavens. All I have to do is say, that's not true. Go away. And so I'm excited. I'm excited because it's real easy. You know, when you've got the media reporting the things that are happening, and you've got, you know, things just not going the way you'd want them to go, it's easy to get into despair. It's easy to kind of go right down into the muck and the mire of just life. And if you get buried underneath it and you don't see it, because it's a slow process. It's not like, you know, I just wake up and you just kind of gradually go down, and then all of a sudden you're like completely under. And but with you coming in, I just said, okay, that's what he said. That's what I'm going to do. And it was over. It was done. So I'm just grateful that in that prosperity, it includes the prospering of my soul and my spirit, that I can go away. Stop. I don't have to live in that. I don't have to do that. So, but the breath just...
Okay, well, it just occurred to me because it's the end of that verse. I didn't write down the verse. The one about the provision, the abundance, that I think was in the beginning of that. But the end of it, it's the reward for every good work. How did they put that?
Okay, this is the verse, 3 John, verse 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in every way, and that your body may keep well, even as I know your soul keeps well and prospers. Keep going. Derek Prince was the one that said for every good work. It was not a scripture.
Oh, that was a scripture.
No. Okay. I quoted Derek Prince, God gives us an abundance for every good work.
Well, that just goes in line with what you've always said, like in your going for the prize message of the month, where you say every step towards Christ is rewarded. And that would be, it's the same basic principle, right? So, but it just occurred to me that this warfare that comes, this subtle taking you down, this subtle frustrating you, this subtle oppression of you, this subtle obstruction of what you're trying to do, that takes you out of the space of rest. If you let it, it will lead you right out of that. It made me think of the parable of the talents. All three were given instructions and were given the means to carry them out. And two of them obeyed those instructions and were rewarded in that. And the third didn't see what the others saw, didn't choose what the others chose. And so God was to him what he chose. So he chose to believe that God was who Satan says he was. Hard, stingy, yes, but also a thief, withholding, the opposite of abundance. Because the opposite of abundance isn't nothingness. It's literally taking what you already have. It's not giving you anything. It's taking what you have and leaving you with nothing. So the opposite of a God of abundance is a God of thievery. A God who takes from me, who is constantly robbing me of anything good. Yeah, that's what he said to God. That was what he saw. He saw God as the exact opposite of abundance. And that was what God gave him in a very real way. And so I'm seeing that there is a very big connection between the enemy's move, death's move on my life, to get me away from the, because in a very real sense, it's committing to God. I believe you are who you say you are. And when I do, he is. Does that make any sense? I don't mean that I, create this, but what I'm saying is when I receive that he is who he says he is, when I believe, when my faith is, God, you are a God of abundance. You are my Father. You are my shepherd, my Abba. You are exactly who you say you are, and I am your child. Then that relationship is wide open, and that abundance comes through, and it's filling me in every possible way. And when that is obscured, and I go off here and I listen to that voice that says, well, that's awfully hard. It's too bad you don't have the energy to do that. And it really stinks that he doesn't see that you're tired. Okay? And for me, it is that subtle. It is that subtle that says, how can I do this when I don't have this? Or something like all of a sudden I feel like I don't have this one small thing. And then I'm an uphill battle and I'm crippled. Do you know what I mean? Like that's for me, it's that small an agreement. And that sets me off down that path. And then I don't have the grace and I don't have any of those things because I'm not in his will. I'm not in the reality of who he is. And I am no longer receiving the abundance because I shut the door, not because he doesn't have it there, but because I shut the door. And it's just kind of throwing me as you're talking about this, because like John says, it's that subtle and it's that simple to throw off. But that seems to always be the bend, is to get me out of reality and into the same old lie always.
Jennifer, I've just realized the secret to not getting into that state so down. The enemy wants to rob, steal, and kill, and destroy. So the ground you gain is a ground that has to be defended, and that's probably a weakness in my life, not to defend the preciousness. What we've gotten today is a ground we're gaining. It's been happening for days now. I believe it's time to start writing down the ground, and however we can name it, but the ground of his fatherhood, that we're his children, that ground, that we don't belong to our old family. We belong to the nature of the one who has adopted us. And the immediate giving of thanks. During this time for me, that's been the most difficult thing. And I see now how it has damaged me to not remember to say thank you, that I have so little energy. That's hard to say thank you for. But I know now he has a purpose in it for me that's for my good. I know it intellectually, but I have to know it spiritually. By saying thank you for where I am, I know you have a plan. And I even read something by Austin Sparks where he said, I said, dear Austin Sparks, you do understand. You've been where I am. You will be helpless, weak, hopeless, defeated, maybe not so much spiritually, but maybe even just physically. And yet the Lord, you have to say to the Lord, I know you have a purpose that is wonderful and outstanding for this, and I thank you for it. Because I'm your child, this can't possibly be outside of your range. So giving thanks in all things would help us not to be so susceptible to those nitpicking things and take us down. So let's also agree to say to each other, let's give thanks. My daughter's done that to me a number of times. Have you given thanks, Mom? And I'd say, no. No, once again. And of course, that's one of my supposedly messages, the miracle of saying thank you. And so every ground you gain, even that ground gained in my life, has been under attack. And I haven't remembered to say thank you. I haven't felt like saying thank you. If I did remember, I was too tired to say it or feel it or do it or think it. So every ground that we gain I don't even know how to do that.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and LivingChristianBooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.